Welcome to the Big Brain Time Debate Podcast. Are you watching this on Facebook? Well, you may or may not be watching it on a website that is owned by a robot. Today we are arguing, is Mark Zuckerberg a robot? I'm Seth.
I'm LJ Richardson, back at it again.
I'm Ira.
I'm Joey.
He's a human man.
See, I think he is a man. I agree with you, Seth. And I'm going to say, for anybody who thinks Mark Zuckerberg's a robot, they've probably drawn that conclusion from watching The Social Network, where the most robotic thing is Jesse Eisenberg's acting. So, hot take.
It's a remark.
See, here's the problem. When you cast Jesse Eisenberg as anybody, he's just not a very likable guy. Every single character, be it Now You See Me, be it The Social Network, he's bound to make you hate him and seem a little bit stiff. Like,
You
have you,
fool.
What was it?
Have
Was
you
it either
seen-
Superman or like Batman or Superman?
Land.
have you seen
I'm
Batman?
not likable in that either.
Okay, Zombieland is an exception. He's good in it.
Okay.
Every bad actor gets one good film or good film series. He's good in Zombieland. Everything else, he basically plays his Lex Luthor type character from Batman v Superman.
I actually love their interpretation of Lex Luthor.
Why? He's a dog.
So anyway.
Seth. Of course you would.
Oh, this is too many debates all at once.
Kevin Spacey was a better Lex Luthor because he's actually a villain in real life.
Just make an argument, Joey. I don't know.
I feel like most of my arguments for him not being a human are just based on pictures, which we're not showing right now.
I can
But-
throw some up.
I mean, look, I'm not the kind of guy who's in any position to trash someone's appearance, but like he looks a little unnatural, especially in that I don't know what he was for, but he's in like that series of photos where he's in the court and he just looks like really, it almost looks kind of like the Uncanny Valley thing, you know, where like you're making like animating people. He looks like he's not quite human. He resembles, I don't know, I feel like this argument is not great. I'm just saying he looks like a robot, but he's a robot in disguise.
I have heard it argued that the reason why he comes across the way he does oftentimes may have to do with a certain like social nervousness that came with growing up fairly nerdy in a time when that wasn't celebrated the way it is now. So maybe it's a sense of constant, sense of being on edge in a way that he really doesn't have to be. But if you grow up with that attitude behind you, you might just not quite know how to shake it in a way that makes you feel natural to other people.
Someone who struggled with social anxiety disorder, I completely understand the idea of putting up an appearance of trying to feel a bit more put together than you feel day to day because you're afraid of how the world views you. So you try to close yourself off in order to try to prevent yourself from getting hurt. So maybe he does it, maybe Mark Zuckerberg acts in that sort of a way, and as a result he appears stiff, a little less fluid. Mainly, maybe it's a defense mechanism.
Also want to say, real Mark Zuckerberg, if you're watching this, we're very sorry. This is all intended to be in good fun and riffing on memes. You seem to have taken the memes about this kind of stuff very well in the past, and kudos to you on that.
And now I feel like a jerk for making fun of Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, you see that's just what they want you to think, that he's
Oh.
Yeah, I know
that he's going through social anxiety, but that's just to cover up the fact that he is a robot. To help try and give a human explanation. We're always trying to give human characteristics to inanimate things, and when things don't seem quite right, we may find things that seem normal to explain that behavior, but in reality it's just that he's a robot, and not a very good one at that.
Are you implying that robots can't have social anxiety? Look at your
Yes,
background.
because they've been programmed not to have social anxiety.
Look at
Robots can be
your background.
programmed
Doki
whatever
doki
you want.
literature.
If you want a robot with social anxiety, you can go ahead and be that kind of sadist person and give a robot social anxiety. Unless, of course, the robot is only, giving the appearance of social anxiety and doesn't actually feel the social anxiety.
Robert Rodriguez already did that in Alita Battle Angel, which is a good movie. It's probably the best anime to live action adaptation that exists.
I mean, it's not exactly a high bar to, go over, but yes, it is.
I guess what I'm really saying here is Mark Zuckerberg is not Alita, but maybe Ira thinks that Mark Zuckerberg is a robot anime girl. Is that what you think, Ira?
No, I think he looks like Data from Star Trek, but that's because that's one of the big comparisons of why he looks like a robot.
He actually looks like my brother-in-law. I will show you pictures later of my brother-in-law, and you will understand what I'm talking about.
I propose that Mark Zuckerberg has created Facebook to divide us. Because, I mean, there's just so much, I feel like especially today, there's so much division amongst Facebook. It's become a thing that like older people use and younger people don't. It's become a big source of misinformation, which to be fair, happens on a lot of the internet, but it's become the ground for a lot of like cringy middle-aged women memes, like with Despicable Me characters. It's just not a good place. He's created it to divide us, I think.
I would like to argue that middle-aged women memes are fantastic. They are wholesome. They are if you look at them oftentimes, and I think the Minions were really just not a precursor, but they grew alongside the emoticon.
Well, you know what Facebook also does? It gathers data. And what do robots love more than anything else? Gathering data so that they can improve themselves. Facebook, the existence of Facebook is to help Mark Zuckerberg to try and seem more like human, to better blend in with the population through gathering data on everyone who's using Facebook.
Have you watched Star Trek Next Generation? Who wouldn't want to gather data? What a cutie. This debate has gone so many directions, man.
However, I have heard some rumors that Mark Zuckerberg might not be a robot. I think we might be able to throw that out the window because he does appear to be flesh and blood. He might not be human, but he might still be flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
What about I have heard reports of him being more of a lizard man in the vein of Robert California from The Office.
I forgot about that scene. Doesn't he scream, "I am the Lizard King"?
You think you can threaten me, Bernard? You don't even know my name. I am the Lizard King.
You don't even know my real name. I'm the Lizard King.
I'm really trying to like figure out what argument I can make about the infamous the sunscreen photo. I feel like there's really something to be made, but I'm not sure which side could claim that. Because like reptiles are cold-blooded, so he should want sun. But then if he was human, why would he wear so much sunscreen? I wear a lot of sunscreen personally, but like, I don't know, he doesn't look that pale.
Well, as a reptile, he would want sun, but he would want even more sunscreen. Because if reptiles stay out in the sun too much, they dry up.
Just like, for Joey, not Ira, just Joey, I'm singling you out, Joey, to look into the eyes of this man and say, you are a robot or a lizard. Look at the sad man. Ignore the headline saying Mark Zuckerberg keeps forgetting human beings. Ignore that.
Yeah, he really does look like a cross between Data and my brother-in-law.
Okay, hang on. Most human photo of Mark Zuckerberg.
The most human photo of Mark Zuckerberg.
Joey, look into the eyes of this man. And I think that's his kid, I don't know. And tell me. You can't do it, can you?
Not with that picture, no.
We can't look into his eyes. He's looking down. Camera.
Okay. Well, Ira, what dost thou say?
I would say that that picture you just showed was basically just a robot looking over a human spawn he created in a test tube, probably. If that is his child.
I didn't actually fact check whose kid that was. He could have been doing baptisms for a church. You never know.
Exactly, to try and seem more human by joining a religion. But people don't think robots would have their own religion. But,
Wait,
Oh, he's teaching her to swim. Sorry.
Maybe-
Anyway,
Maybe he's not a robot. Maybe he's a clone.
maybe.
Maybe he's a clone, like in Star Wars Episode 2. And that baby is not his daughter per se, but rather an unaltered clone that he's made a deal with to raise as his child, while all of the rest of his clones are given growth alterations and released to become the next generation of human programmers and tech support.
Oh, like Jango Fett and Boba Fett.
Yeah!
Instead of the Clone Wars, it's the clone spam calls
Clone spam
and
calls.
tech support.
They're not robocalls anymore, they're clone calls.
I do feel that Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not sure what this says about his cloaking ability, but he looks more human when he was younger. It's either just like he's developing into like a new stage of his reptile life, or his cloaking has gotten worse. I'm not sure. Or cameras have gotten better.
All right, well, that's all I have to say. Any other closing thoughts before Zoom kicks us off?
Closing thoughts. He's definitely flesh and blood, but whether he's a human remains to be seen, but not a robot.
Could be a goat.
He could be a goat.
Yes, the goat man in charge of social media.
Joey, do you agree with the Goatman consensus? Then we'll all be in agreement.
I mean, it's so hard to tell, but yeah, he could be a goat man.
And so is
I'm sorry, Mark. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mark, should just be the title of this podcast. Last time we talk about a real person like this. We love you, Mark.
We love you, Mark. Bye.
And we love Jesse Eisenberg.
No, we don't.